Yes.
Okay.
I can't see like everyone who's logged in because I'm on my phone. So I could go through everyone's name just to see who's all present, but everyone said they were coming.
Do you typically call the roll?
We can, we have in the past.
In virtual meetings, I would prefer it. So once it's called to order, you can request to call the roll. And so I think we'd be good that way.
Great. All right, well, let's proceed in that manner. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:31. Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited to serve with you. And thank you for agreeing to serve, and thank you for the members of the audience who are here tonight, members of the public. Why don't we call the roll since we're virtual, just to make sure we're all here?
Sure. President McKeag?
Aye.
Trustee Bockhorst?
Present.
Eric Kudo?
Aye.
Therese Klein?
Present.
Barbara Kiley Miller? Sangeeta Patel?
Here.
Okay, and Dan Wicklund?
Here.
I know Barbara said she was attending, so I'm not sure if she'll pop in at a later time.
She is here. I think she's having some audio.
Okay.
She's in South Carolina, I believe. So I
Okay,
can see her screen.
perfect.
Great. Thank you, Crystal. All right, proceeding on to item number 2, approval of the March 23rd, 2021 meeting minutes.
Here.
Hi, Barbara.
Hello.
I would entertain a motion to approve the March 23rd, 2021 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay, moved by trustee Bockhorst, seconded by Mr. Kudo. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Or show hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion minutes are approved as presented. Item 3, approval of April 19th, 2021 joint meeting of the Plan Commission and Village Board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Bockhorst, seconded by Mr. Kudo. Is there any discussion? Raised hand, Barbara Kiley Miller.
Yeah, I had just 2 minor changes for Crystal.
Yeah, let me get-
Um,
Are these, Barbara, are these on my minutes? Because Sarah did the,
page, the second paragraph on number 4. Actually, if I'm having audio problems, these are
Yeah.
these are pretty minor. Why don't I just email them to you? They're just kind of grammar, typographical things.
that worked.
Okay.
It's the second paragraph under 4, the second sentence is just a repeat. But I'll email these to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Barbara.
Okay. Would the commission like to move ahead and approve the minutes as presented, understanding that there are 2 non-substantive changes on its way?
Sure, as long as they're not, they're just grammatical or whatnot, they don't change the content, sure.
Mhm. Okay, all those in favor? Say aye.
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 And any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved as presented with minor changes
Aye.
coming via email. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, update on parking specialist exception for proposed multifamily redevelopment at properties 2418, 2420, and 2428 East Capitol Drive, submitted by Catalyst Partners. Bart, would you like to update us on this?
Sure. So I provided a memo in the packet that just gives a brief history. As you're familiar, the Plan Commission approved the parking special exception at their February meeting, and it was appealed by neighboring residents. The Board of Appeals heard that appeal on April 13th and May 4th, and ultimately did approve that appeal and remanded the decision back to the Plan Commission. Within the packet was a draft decision, which has since subsequently been signed as is. And so within the packet on page 15, you'll see that the motion passed on a 4-1 vote. And based upon this motion, the Plan Commission is directed to reopen the hearing on the Catalyst Partners request for a special exception related to parking, accept additional public comment from members of the public, accept any additional evidence and or argument from the applicant, make a record demonstrating how the factors contained in Village Code 535-51B are being considered by the Plan Commission, and entertain a motion to either grant or deny the special exception based on the original record, as well as any new evidence offered at the next Plan Commission hearing. We have scheduled that Plan Commission hearing for next Tuesday, June 1st, virtually at 6:30 p.m. The agenda was posted earlier this afternoon, and we will be sending out materials for that later this week, most likely on Friday.
Thank you. As this was agended as an update, I'm willing to entertain questions that Bart can follow up on and provide us with additional information. But other than that, I'm going to be strict about no discussion, since we are having a hearing on this matter in a week. Are there any questions regarding the update that staff would need to follow up with?
No, it's not really a question regarding the well, it kind of is. It was regarding the report. I thought the packet said 3-1, and you said 4-1, but that's minor.
Thank you.
I can confirm that it does say 4-1, but I believe it should be 3-1, that you are correct.
Mm-hmm. Noted, thank you. Any questions on the procedures moving forward that we need to address now?
I just have a quick question. Bart, did you say we're going to be getting some additional or new information as we look at this application a second time?
Correct. I have not had a chance to fully review it, but I did receive an email with information from the applicant. The Board of Appeals was clear that they could provide additional information. And so with his confirmation of moving forward next week, he did provide some additional information. I don't know the scope of that right now, but yes, that will be within the packet.
And the memo, the update does indicate that we will be getting not only agenda, but corresponding materials by Friday, May 28th, just in time for the long weekend to review.
A little fireside reading for your
Little fire cookout, maybe. Your choice. Okay. If there are no further questions, we can move on to the next matter at hand. Item 5A, we have a public hearing for consideration of a conditional use permit application for IV Nutrient Lounge, a proposed wellness clinic at commercial property 4208 North Oakland Avenue in Village of Shorewood, Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, tax ID 239-0307-000. I will now open the public hearing at 6:39 p.m. and anyone who is in attendance tonight to speak on this item can unmute or raise your hand. Bart?
Just a point of clarification, I typically do read the.
Yes, I
Right.
knew.
Yes.
I knew something was missing. So yes, Bart's going to present the materials to us and then we'll open it up for public comment.
So yes, I'd be happy to do so. So project and parcel overview. Kristen Reynolds of the Golden Ray Energy Center IV Nutrient Lounge has applied to operate what has been classified to be a wellness clinic at 428 North Avenue. Although not directly defined within the code, staff interprets a clinic to involve the diagnosis and treatment of patients, which Ms. Reynolds agrees will be taking place. This business is replacing the former Glow Salon, and from an occupancy standpoint will operate independently of the Golden Ray Energy Center, which is located in the same building at 4210 North Oakland Avenue. The tenant spaces have not been combined. The property is zoned B2 mixed-use residential district. The B2 mixed-use residential district is intended to provide opportunities for mixed-use development while encouraging residential development. The district allows buildings of exclusively residential use as well as mixed-use buildings with residential uses on the upper floor and retail, office, service, or restaurant uses on the first floor. Buildings of exclusively commercial use are not permitted. This district will allow additional shopping opportunities while adding residents and vitality to the village. Per 53527D, clinics are allowed to operate within the B1, B2, B3, and B5 districts as a conditional use, subject to the review and approval of the Plan Commission after a public hearing. The parcel is developed with a 2-story mixed-use building of approximately 4,400 square feet. 2 commercial tenants share the first floor and apartments are located on the second. The parcel has a driveway with limited surface parking and a 3-car garage located at its rear for residential tenants and commercial employees. Patients will be expected to park on the street. No exterior modifications to the building or lot are proposed with this application. Proposed operations. Golden Ray Energy IV Nutrient Lounge will be located at the front of the first floor and is expanding the offerings of the existing Golden Ray Energy Center, which is located at the back. Floor plans have been provided for reference. The proposed tenant space is approximately 550 square feet. The business will offer a variety of IV nutrient treatments administered and overseen by an on-site licensed MD, RN, or NP. This would involve up to 4 patients at one time utilizing the space, sitting in a lounge chair, getting an IV inserted into their arm and receiving intravenous nutrients such as vitamin C and B vitamins. Golden Ray Energy Center IV Nutrient Lounge will be operated Monday through Saturday from approximately 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on weekdays and 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. The business will employ a total of 4 people with a maximum of 2 being on site at one time plus the owner. The business expects to see up to 3 to 4 patients an hour as it grows. A complete plan of operations has been attached to this memo for reference. Parking. Per 53550, code provisions related to the required parking facilities shall only apply to new buildings or structures and substantially altered buildings or structures. The proposed occupancy does not qualify for either. For reference, per 53547D6, medical and dental offices require 4 spaces per practitioner plus 1 space per each additional employee at the time of the greatest number of employees are present. Based on the proposed operations, this would require 9 off-street parking stalls. Review and approval. Per 53525, the Village Plan Commission shall review the site, existing and proposed structures, architectural plans, neighboring uses, parking areas, driveway locations, highway access, traffic generation and circulation, drainage, sewerage and water systems, and the proposed operation. Conditions such as landscaping, architectural design, type of construction, construction commencement and completion dates, sureties, lighting, fencing, planting screens, operational controls, hours of operation, improved traffic circulation, deed restrictions, highway access restrictions, increased yards or parking requirements may be required by the Village Plan Commission upon its findings that these are necessary to fulfill the purpose and intent of this chapter. Furthermore, per 53525C, no conditional use permit shall be authorized by the Plan Commission unless such commission shall find that 1, the establishment, maintenance, and operation of the conditional use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. 2, the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. 3, the establishment of the conditional use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. 4, adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and/or necessary facilities have been or are being provided. 5, adequate measures have been provided or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. 6, the conditional use shall in all respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located, except as such regulations may in each instance be modified by the Board of Trustees pursuant to recommendations of the Plan Commission. And 7, the conditional use is in accordance with and subject to all other applicable laws and regulations. Staff comments. The business has been operating with a temporary occupancy since February 2021. Issuance of a formal occupancy permit has been held subject to the consideration of a conditional use permit application. Based on review of the application and existing site conditions, staff has no objections to the proposed operations. A suggested motion has been provided and materials enclosed include the application for conditional use permit, application for commercial occupancy, proposed plan of operations, and a proposed floor plan. And that is the end of the staff presentation.
So it would be at this point in the meeting that we would, in the hearing, that we would entertain public comment.
That is correct.
So with everyone's help, I will look for unmuted or hands.
I am not seeing any.
All right, with no one voicing the wish to speak, I will close the public hearing at 6:45 p.m. Moving on to consideration of conditional use permit application for Ivy Nutrient Lounge, a proposed wellness clinic at commercial property 4208 North Oakland Avenue in the village of Shorewood, Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, tax ID 239030700. Are there any questions regarding this item for staff at this time? Trustee Bachhorst?
Yes, thank you. Well, a question I have is that I understand that one of the non-permitted uses is for a medical facility. And the area, including the Metro Market and the new development in that region, as well as our Vision 2025 and Central District Master Plan, had all mentioned that we want to have a vibrant community with a lot of foot traffic and a variety of other variables. So although I am going to vote for this, it is, excuse me, I have a little bit of it's a little tricky considering our developers agreement for the whole Metro Market and Mosaic wrote on the fact that this type of use would not be permitted within the first 10 years. So I just thought I would mention that for the public record. I think you probably remember that, Anne, from back in 2014 or whenever that was, but
Okay.
I guess it's almost a decade later. So
Yes, nothing happened there.
that was a comment, not a question.
Mhm.
I do see Barbara's hand is currently raised. I don't know what.
Barbara?
Thank you. Now this building, this business from what the packet says isn't in the Metro Market Mosaic building. It looks like it's across the street, maybe just south of the Powers Real Estate Office. But Bart, is the applicant here today, or maybe you can answer my questions? It says that, we're looking at this as a clinic for the diagnosis and treatment of patients. So I'm wondering, are they really like clients, like going to a massage therapist? Or is there some kind of medical referral or clearance required? And the physician, who's the business owner, is going to be on site intermittently. So I'm just wondering who's in charge of administering these IV nutrients when she is absent.
I do not see her on the call right now unless under a different name. I did have a conversation with her back in February and March to confirm that she does agree this is a clinic and that her clients are not clients, they are patients. And so with that, it did confirm that this was a clinic subject to conditional use permit. With respect to who will be on site, the plan of operations, I believe, discusses it, but so it says there will be 1 to 2 employees per shift and 4 total employees plus the medical owner director, Dr. Reynolds, who will be on site intermittently throughout the week to oversee operations. I don't have anything further than that. You already pointed that out. So if there's any specific questions, I can't answer beyond what was in the plan of operations. She was invited to tonight's meeting. I don't know if she never made it or what, but.
Are there any other questions in preparation for a motion?
I see Sangeeta also raised.
Sangeeta?
Yeah, I had a question about.
Okay, and then the thing I just wondered, it doesn't really.
I don't know.
Okay. All right, and then just the last thing I'm looking at, oh, sorry, I wasn't done.
I know, I realize that now. Thank you. You can continue, Barbara.
Okay, thanks. Looking at the floor plan, Bart, is it your understanding, or maybe you've been there since they opened, is it all one big space? Like say a hair salon would be, or is there any kind of screening between the patients for privacy?
I have not been there. Our building inspector does do the site inspections, and so he would be able to confirm that, but he is not here. It does look like it's relatively open.
It did say in the report that they did not combine spaces.
Correct. So the front space, the former glow salon, and the
Okay.
space, they are technically separate from a occupancy point, so they all have their occupancy requirements. But the front space, it does look as though there are 4 chairs. I don't believe that they are within any sort of room or anything.
Okay. Just curious about that. Thank you.
Sangita?
So I had a question about 6D. There's the applicant saying that obviously street parking is available for patients, but they'd like to obtain street parking passes for the employees. What's their, I guess, where would they park? Is Oakland, it's 2-hour limits, right, for parking on Oakland?
Correct. Yeah, the village does not offer street parking for employees. And so I believe it says if possible. So I have communicated back to her that we do not sell those for employees. So
Okay.
employees would be subject to daytime regulations and or availability behind the building.
I had a question related to that. It says that her code, it would require 9 off-street parking stalls based on proposed operations, but it looks like there aren't that many. So is that in conflict with the findings?
So I always provide that for reference so that we understand what our parking regulations require. As I mentioned in the memo and in my reading of it, those are only triggered for new construction or substantial alteration. So if they're developed as a new building, we would require 9 spaces, but because it's not, we don't do that. But within the conditional use consideration, parking is something that often comes up, so I provide it for reference.
Trustee Bachhorst, do you have a question?
It was just a follow-up to that. Also, I think you had mentioned in the memo regarding this part that the amount of parking required by the former use of the hair salon is probably commensurate with the IV, with the health clinic.
How do I?
Thank you.
Video.
If everybody could remember to mute, thank you. If there are any other questions prior to a motion, otherwise I would entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make motion.
Yes, Dan?
I move to approve the conditional use permit application for IV Nutrient Lounge, a proposed wellness clinic at commercial property 4208 North Oakland Avenue, based on meeting the conditions stipulated in 535-25C.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Wickland, seconded by Trustee Bachhorst. Is there any further discussion?
Looks like Nathan has his hand raised.
Nathan?
Thank you. I just wanted to make a few references to the code and to offer a little bit of guidance to just help the body with their discussion on the motion. There is in the code a section called 535.27, which is labeled commercial uses. And it says that the following commercial uses shall be conditional uses and may be permitted as specified. And then one of the things that it lists under sub D is clinics in the B1, 2, and 3 districts. And we're talking about the B2 district. So I've gotten the question over the years, well, how does that play into 535.25, which is review, notice, and consideration of general conditional use applications? Well, the best way to look at that is to say that under 535.27, the code is saying that although these aren't specified enumerated uses under the specific zoning section, that these are otherwise generally favored, but that this body should still consider the factors under 535.25C. In other words, that's where it says no conditional use permit shall be authorized by the Plan Commission unless the commission finds that, and then it's those 7 things that Bart discussed earlier. So I just want to make sure that there's a record that some of those factors have been considered during the course of the discussion under 535.25C, and that to reflect the record that the commission is comfortable if they're going to grant the special, or excuse me, the application for the conditional use, that those factors have been considered and taken into to the decision. The other thing that is worth mentioning is that when a conditional use permit application comes up, we always have to talk about 6223 sub 7, and that is a new section of the law that was created back in 2017, and it specifically says that if an applicant for a conditional use permit meets or agrees to meet the requirements of either an existing ordinance or those imposed by the body, then the municipality shall grant the conditional use permit, and any condition imposed must be related to the purpose of the ordinance or be based on substantial evidence. So keep in mind, if you have an applicant that says I can meet all of the conditions under 535.25C, then you're obligated to grant the conditional use permit. So I just wanted to explain a little bit how 535.25 plays in with 535.27, which are enumerated conditional uses. And it would appear on its face that you just say, oh, well, it's an enumerated conditional use under 535.27, so we have to grant it. That's not necessarily the case. This body still has the authority to discuss the factors under 535.25 and make a decision. So I just want to make sure that any motion reflects that the request for the conditional use meets the requirements or the factors under 535.25C.
Nathan, are you indicating that we need to amend the motion that's on the floor, or that our discussion needs to, that the commissioners understand that either our discussion needs to reflect the factors that are not met, or the absence of that discussion indicates that those factors have been met?
Sure, I think it was baked into the motion. I think,
okay.
I think the motion actually referenced 535.25C. I just think between making of the motion and the voting on the motion, if there's some record as to that we're comfortable that either those conditions are met or they're not, would be helpful to anyone watching from outside to understanding the body's process, decision-making process. And I think that's inappropriate, would be an appropriate record to make.
So yeah, I guess how I tend to handle meeting procedure is ask for questions in preparation for a motion, and then once those questions have been addressed, entertain a motion if the body so chooses, and then during discussion, discuss, explore the merits of the motion and any stipulations therein. So at this time with discussion, if there are any factors that you feel have not been met, this would be the time to question those so that our record reflects that. Yes, Bart?
I just want to point out the applicant has joined the call. So if there were any questions further for Dr. Reynolds, I do see that she is on the call at this point. So just for in the discussion, if you wanted to ask any of those questions, she is available.
Okay. Barbara, would you like the opportunity to ask those questions?
Sure, thank you. And sometimes we have, gone down items 1 through 7 as a group, but I think most often we kind of consider those our own when we're reviewing the packet. And so, in this case, it was just number 1, the public health and safety, which seemed to be most germane to this application. So I did have a question for the applicant as to whether the patients coming in need to have a medical referral or be screened for, clearance to receive the IV nutrients, and which medical professional will be in charge when the doctor is not present?
Okay, hi, I'm Kristen Reynolds. Sorry, I joined a little bit late. But I'm glad I caught you before you finished. So yes, we do require medical clearance before anybody gets IV services. And right now I am the one who is clearing people, but I do have 2 nurse practitioners who I've just hired. And so they can practice at the same level as a physician in the state of Wisconsin. So they will be doing IV clearance consults for me at some point once I get them trained.
Thank you.
Were there other questions?
I believe that was the only one.
Barbara had the question about the screening, how the patients were.
Oh, that's right. When they're in the 4 chairs, are each of them open to the other or is there some kind of screening for any privacy? I mean, I've been in physical therapy clinics where it's, one big room, and chemotherapy clinics where they're more cubicles. So I'm just wondering, within that room, is it just all open to each other or any?
Yeah, so right now that room is open. We have 4 IV treatment stations, and they're all distanced at least 6 feet. We do have a privacy divider if somebody prefers to be in more of a private space. One of our 4 stations is a massage table, and it's kind of off to the side, so we can put a privacy divider up. It wouldn't block sound, but it would at least provide a little bit of privacy. And then the nice thing with the space that we currently have is that the existing Golden Ray Energy Center, which is kind of in the back of the building, we have private rooms there. So, we do have some flexibility to move people into private areas if that was necessary. And of course, for things like patient intakes, when we're dealing with HIPAA protected information, we're doing those out of the original space where we have private rooms, or we're doing Zoom clearance consults out of a private room, so that's all confidential.
Thank you.
Great. That's exactly what I wanted to know. Thank you.
So I'm sure in preparation for the meeting, all the commissioners considered all the factors and the materials that were before you. Are there any other factors that you would like to discuss? The biggest risk to the public I see is people feeling really great and having a ton of energy and smiling way more than normal when they come out of your place. So I could use some vitamin B right now.
We've seen that. Thank you for saying that. We've seen that. So.
Yeah. But actually, I don't think that's a problem. I think it's a great. Okay. If there is no further discussion regarding any of the factors and you feel like the factors have been met as stipulated, I would ask for a vote on this. Unless, Bart, am I missing something?
Did we get a second?
We did. Trustee Bockhorst.
Okay.
I was just going to say that Crystal typically has a roll call vote on these, so.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
She's also been having some connectivity issues. I don't know.
Yeah, I will you. Trustee Bockhorst,
Yes.
Eric Kudo,
Yes.
where's my list? Therese Klein,
Yes.
Barbara Kylie Miller.
Yes.
Okay. Sangeeta Patel,
Yes.
Dan Wicklund,
Yes.
The only one I didn't hear was President McKay, but I don't know if she fell off.
That is a yes. I didn't hear
Oh,
you.
there. Got it. That is all yeses.
Okay, so the conditional use is approved as presented. Thank you very much for all your consideration, everyone, and for Dr. Reynolds for making our community more healthier.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Moving on to item 6A, a public hearing for consideration of conditional use permit application in the installation of a canoe kayak launch at municipal property 3565 North Morris Boulevard in the village of Shorewood, Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, tax ID 275-8989-001. I would like to open the hearing at 7:05 p.m. and I would like to hand it over to Mr. Bart to present the materials.
Sure. Thank you, President McKeg. A project overview. In 2009, a conceptual plan for the B4 River District Riparian Restoration and Trail Planning and Design Project was published. The document outlined a plan to develop a trail system along the east bank of the Milwaukee River and address bluff stabilization and restoration. A canoe and kayak launch in Hubbard Park was included as a recommended trail system connection and amenity. A Knowles Nelson Stewardship Grant was awarded the Village of Short in 2016, which was utilized to help fund construction of the trail. The project scope was adjusted due to align with available funding and the launch was deferred. Trail was constructed in 2018. Preliminary excavation and grading for the launch was completed at that time. The Village's 2020 TID 3 budget included a combined $50,000 of funding for the engineering and construction of a canoe and kayak launch, as well as a handrail for the riparian trail stairs at the south end of Hubbard Park. In January 2020, the Village Board approved a design engineering agreement with Snyder Associates of Madison to develop conceptual design options. In September 2020, the Village Board approved a modified version of Concept 1 and directed the engineer to develop construction documents with several elements as bid alternatives, including a flagstone landing and a stone bench, to provide maximum flexibility for award with the available budget. The conceptual plans are attached to this memo for reference. The engineer's probable cost for the selected concept was $60,000. Construction was scheduled to take place in the fall of 2021 to accommodate Hubbard Lodge events. However, only one bid was received and it was higher than expected. So on May 17th, 2021, the Village Board directed staff to rebid the project for construction in the fall of 2022. Zoning. Hubbard Park is zoned P3 Park Preservation District. The aim of the P3 district is to preserve this zone for scenic, scientific, historic, and recreational uses in this zone and to encourage the preservation of undeveloped areas along the Milwaukee River and Lake Michigan. Recreational uses are listed as principal uses within this district. The site is also located within the Village's River Shorelands Overlay District, which is defined within 535-9H. Per 535-9H 8C, the construction of any building or structure within this overlay is required to be reviewed and approved as a conditional use by the Plan Commission. Similar approval was provided by the Plan Commission for the construction of the Riparian Trail on March 23rd, 2018. In addition, per 535-9H7, certification by a professional engineer shall be provided to the village to ensure that the project will not A, adversely affect the slope stability of the bluff, B, increase the runoff of water on the surface of the bluff, C, create or add problem of erosion on the shoreland or bluff, or D, adversely affect the structural integrity of any structure located on adjoining or adjacent lots. Staff is requesting that such certification be provided prior to construction and is requesting that this be included with any possible motion. Review and approval. Per 535-25, the Village Plan Commission shall review the site, existing and proposed structures, architectural plans, neighboring uses, parking areas, driveway locations, highway access, traffic generation and circulation, drainage, sewerage, and water systems, and the proposed operation. Conditions such as landscaping, architectural design, type of construction, construction commencement and completion dates, sureties, lighting, fencing, planting screens, operational controls, hours of operation, improved traffic circulation, deed restrictions, highway access restrictions, increased yards or parking requirements may be required by the Village Plan Commission upon its finding that these are necessary to fulfill the purpose and intent of this chapter. Furthermore, per 535-25C, no conditional use permit shall be authorized by the Plan Commission unless such commission shall find that 1, the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the conditional use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. 2, The conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. 3, the establishment of the conditional use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for uses permitted in the district or have a negative impact on the diversity of the type of businesses located in the district. 4, adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. 5, adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress or egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. 6, the conditional use shall in all other aspects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located, except as regulations may be in each instance be modified by the Board of Trustees pursuant to the recommendations of the Plan Commission. 7, the conditional use is in accordance with and subject to all other applicable laws and regulations. Staff comments. Per 53525H, conditional use approvals shall lapse and become null and void 1 year after the date of approval if the use has not commenced or a valid building permit has not been obtained or construction is not underway. However, that same section also says that the applicant may obtain an extension of these limitations through a request to the Plan Commission prior to expiration with a written explanation of the time and a timeline for schedule for completion. With the village as the applicant and understanding the need to rebid the project for construction in the fall of 2022 as described above, staff is requesting that the approval be proactively granted for up to 2 years. Staff has no objections to the proposed installation. Suggested motion, I do want to clarify that I did not include the phrase based on meeting the conditions stipulated in 53525C. So if agreeable, I would request that a commissioner consider adding that to the motion. The materials enclosed includes the conditional use application and the conceptual design of the Hubbard Park Canoe and Kayak launch. That is the end of the staff report.
Right, at this time, I would entertain public comment. I am seeing and hearing none. All right. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:12 p.m. and move on to the next item. Consideration of conditional use permit application for the installation of a canoe kayak launch at Municipal Property 3565 North Morris Boulevard in the Village of Shorewood, Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, tax ID 27589890001. Opening this item, I would entertain questions in advance of a motion or guidance from Nathan if he feels it's appropriate at this time.
I don't have any additional, I think the criteria essentially is going to be the same for this particular application under 53525C.
Therese?
Sorry, I rolled too many things on the screen here. So I have one question about the canoe launch, and it's really just about the parking in the circle there. So if you envision you're coming with your car, or a group of people are coming with their cars, they're allowed to temporarily park and then move their cars and get back down there to their stuff, right? So right now that whole section is no parking.
Correct. That would be my understanding. I believe that's why the sidewalk leads there, obviously, so that you can drop off or pick up. But yeah, parking is not allowed in that turnaround.
Yeah, I don't know if there needs to be signage that allows, drop offs or how that works.
I would entertain that as a condition, perhaps, if we feel that's worth clarifying. I don't see any opposition to that. And I'm not sure if DPW has planned that or not, but I would not have any opposition to requesting that be included.
Would it qualify as a loading zone part, or would it just indicate, it wouldn't have to be a loading zone, right? It could just be temporary stopping or I don't know what the ordinance would be. And I don't know that we need to, but it sounds like I had the same question. So it sounds like there is desire from the commission that parking enforcement and parking be prevented on that area, but that people be allowed to access it to drop their equipment.
It definitely could be signed as a loading zone. I think that makes sense. Or if there's other language that, you know, either the plan commission or DPW would entertain, but I think we could meet the intent of that conversation, future signage.
I see Commissioner Kylie Miller and Trustee Bockhorst.
Thank you. I had kind of the same question that Therese did about the parking. And in addition, you know, there's no little card drawn on the map for scale. So I'm just wondering, when a vehicle is pulled up and they're mounting or dismounting their watercraft, is there enough room on that turnaround for like another car to pass them if they were just kind of going on a little cruise down to the shoreline and then back up? Or will there be some kind of backup with traffic? Is there enough for a vehicle to pass any car that's loading or unloading, so it doesn't get congested?
I believe there would be a scale as provided on the plan, and it suggests that driveway is at least 20 feet wide. So unless the vehicle and a trailer is parked awkwardly, if it's parked against the curb, there should be room for another vehicle to pass through.
Great. And then my last question had to do with under the code with number 4 about necessary facilities. So I wasn't sure what they meant, but my question was, will there be any kind of restrooms in the park there for people either before or after they come off the river? I don't know what we've got right now besides those in Hubbard Park Lodge and now up near the beer garden.
I can confirm that no additional restroom facilities are part of the plan. I unfortunately cannot confirm what is currently available at what hours. I just will state that there's nothing, those are not proposed as part of the project.
And yet it's not required.
Thanks, Bart.
It's not required. It's just a consideration for the plan commission to consider in their approval. It was required. It's something you could discuss, but it does not get required by any means.
Okay.
I should point out to the commission that this site has been used for this purpose informally for years and years and years. So people have been actually dropping off their canoes and kayaks and getting in and doing all this. It's the only difference is that we've engineered and invested in creating a formal launch to make it easier on people and more accessible. Trustee Bockhorst, did you have a comment?
I did. I have two. One is, I think that we had mentioned before regarding the parking, that it would be something that allows this. We don't have to go into the specifics at this point. Is that accurate? And then because of loading zone, you have to have someone in the car or near the car. And that would not be potentially, possible for an individual using a craft. And then secondly, this is something we've discussed at length at the village board because we did authorize the funding of this and we did vote the other night to go back out for RFP because the quotes came in were too high. So anyway, I'm excited to see this move forward and that's why I would support the 2-year extension that the staff is requesting regarding construction or at least groundbreaking on this. So I'm ready to vote yes on this.
Are you making a motion?
I move to approve the conditional use permit for, I don't have all the words here, I wrote some of them down, for canoe launching at 3565 North Morris Boulevard pursuant to 535-25C, and maybe there's some other words in there.
So it sounds like you're making the motion as suggested in the report with the addition of that phrase.
Well summarized, yes.
From the previous one, which is it as stipulated in 535-25C.
25C. Is that
Okay.
right, Bart?
Correct.
Is there anyone that would like to second that motion?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, I think Commissioner Wickland, or who did it?
That was-
Show of hands. Oh, okay, Commissioner Klein.
Aye.
All right, any further discussion addressing factors? Guidance from Nathan Baer?
I have nothing.
All right, hearing none, I would entertain a roll call at this point.
All right, President McKay,
Yes.
Trustee Bockhorst,
Yes.
Eric Kudo,
Yes.
Therese Klein,
Yes.
Barbara Kylie Miller,
Yes.
Sangeeta Patel,
Yes.
and Dan Wickland.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. 7-0.
Thank you. Trustee Mara, former trustee Mara would be very excited about this. He's worked on this a long time. Moving on to item 7, update on and I would like to acknowledge the Parks Commission, their great work on this and seeing this through. This discussion probably started 8 or 9 years ago, so it's a lot of perseverance, patience. Item 7, update on the passage of the Village of Shorewood Comprehensive Plan 2040. Mr. Bart.
So I provided a brief update. Most of you were involved with the joint Plan Commission Committee of the Whole prior to the passage of the comprehensive plan on April 19th. The village board did approve it, subject to a clarification of the height regulations in the future land use Main Street mixed use district to be limited to current zoning standards, as well as the inclusion of various technical changes that were identified at the meeting, including the village logo and photos and things like that. So that information is provided in your packet. The comprehensive plan as adopted has been amended, for lack of better words, and uploaded to the website. So the version that's on the website right now is the version that was adopted. However, both staff and Van de Waal acknowledge that it's a large document, and if there were by chance any technical changes, we were just going to give it a month until we printed copies of it. So on June 1st, we will print copies for all village trustees, as well as copies for the village library and village hall. So if by chance anyone saw anything in there that they, whether it's a typo or a poor photo or something of that nature, we would have the opportunity with Van de Waal to update it June 1st. But beyond that, it has been adopted. I did also share that moving forward, the comprehensive plan will primarily be used as a reference with respect to code updates or policy discussions. So to that point, I did include a newsletter on the consistency requirements of the comprehensive plan from a state resource. So the comprehensive plan is referenced when an ordinance is enacted or amended. It is not a regulation in and of itself. And so as we look towards adopting or amending anything with our zoning code with respect to either parking regulations or land use zoning aspects, we will be referencing that code. It is not required that conditional use permits conform to the comprehensive plan, so that clarification is in there. It's something that we could reference, but it is not a strict requirement. So just wanted to give the heads up because that's what the Plan Commission most often convenes to review. But it will definitely be a required reference with respect to making any ordinance or policy updates, as well as tax incremental financing districts, things of that nature. So that newsletter article has been provided. I will provide it again for re-reference if that question does come up. But beyond that, I'd like to thank the Plan Commission for all their hard work and the various meetings that we went through to get the plan recommended to the village board. And the village board did accept the plan as drafted with those very minor technical points. So I just wanted to thank everyone for their hard work on that and let you know that we will be referencing it in the future for the next 10 years or sooner when it ever gets amended. And then lastly, depending on what's all on the June 22nd Plan Commission agenda, I do propose that we have a conversation regarding just identification of priorities within the plan with respect to what the Plan Commission has been assigned, just so that there's some consensus moving forward of what my role is in drafting those for you and whether or not I'm capable of doing that myself or whether we need to bring in possibly some help to get us there. But apologies for the long-winded introduction there, but the comprehensive plan was passed and we will be talking in the near future regarding future implementation steps.
I'll repeat, thank you very much to this commission for all the work that you did. That was a really heavy lift. And now we get to do the fun part in implementing it. So I look forward to that. Future agenda items, item number 8. There are none at this time. I would take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, who was the second?
Dan
Eric?
was.
Okay. Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay. The meeting is adjourned at 7:25. Thank you very much. See you next week.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Too.
Bye-bye.